call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Brandon Moreno takes on Kavanagh this Saturday at UFC Fight Night, Mexico City. In kind of a weird matchup, you know, both of these guys coming in off of losses, but Brandon Moreno, he was supposed to be fighting Asu Almabayev, who had to pull out due to injury. And Kavanagh, he was going to be taking on Bruno Silva a few weeks from now, March 14th, so they pulled him up about a month early to fill in the spot against Brandon Moreno. Kavanagh recently coming off of his first career loss to Charles Johnson back in August. So good matchup. Decent step up in competition for Kavanagh. I think Brandon Moreno's a little bit more high caliber than Charles Johnson. Although I do think Charles Johnson is pretty good. Although he did just get put out by Alex Perez not that long ago. He's a stiff test. But Brandon Moreno, former champ, gonna have the experience advantage. Has 34 fights to Kavanagh's 10 fights. So definitely gonna have more experience. I think he's more well-rounded. Like I said, former champ, fought a lot of really high-level guys, been in championship fights, been in 5-round fights. And this is going to be Kavanagh's first 5-round fight, which is, a big step up for him. Honestly, he's been in the UFC for, a couple of years now, not even. Had 3 fights, not including his Dana White's Contender Series fight. Fought Jose Ochoa, Felipe Dos Santos, lost to Charles Johnson. So his track record doesn't really scream out to me that he's going to be able to beat somebody as well-rounded and gritty and tough as Brandon Moreno. Although he does have a very high-level skill set. He's very dangerous on the feet. He's shown decent grappling, decent ability to get fights to the ground. I think he had 4 takedowns against Felipe Dos Santos. He's able to defend a lot of takedowns, like 88% takedown defense. But Felipe Dos Santos, Jose Ochoa, I think that Brandon Moreno would do fairly well against those. I think that Brandon Moreno would beat Charles Johnson. So this is a very stiff test for him, especially on short notice. Brandon Moreno is the one who's peaking. Again, it's an opponent change. He's going from Asu Almabayev, who's more of a grappler, has decent striking, but he's looking to get you to the ground, do ground and pound, find submissions. He wasn't preparing for somebody like Kavanagh, who's like a 5-time kickboxing world champion. And has really good kicks, really good striking. So it's a change up for Brandon Moreno as well. But at least he's had technically the full camp. He's been peaking for this date, whereas Kavanagh was expecting to have another month. So it does not bode well for him, considering he started to slow down in his last fight against Charles Johnson, and that was in the 2nd round. And now he's taking on a guy of Brandon Moreno who's got a motor, who's got cardio, who's got the experience, who can push 5 hard rounds, and he's got the full camp. So not the best circumstances for Kavanagh. Does have a puncher's chance. Not a puncher's chance. He does have an ability to put guys out. He can crack. Brandon Moreno has been knocked down before. Never been knocked out, never been chinned. He's been dropped by, the Pantojas and the Figueiredos of the world, but never been KO'd. Outside of his last fight against Tatsu Ortega, you can call it a KO. I think it was an early stoppage. I think somebody like Brandon Moreno, who's been in the UFC for so long, he's had such great performances. He's been dropped. Like I said, he's been hurt. He's been able to come back and win. I think you got to give him, somebody like him, you got to give him more time in that position. He was taking some shots, but he was defending. He was by no means concussed at the end of the fight. Was asking the ref, like, really? I can't believe you stopped that fight. I think it was an early stoppage. A lot of people were saying, well, he wasn't getting it out of there. And it's like, well, Brandon Moreno has really good wrestling, really good scrambling ability. He can get taken down, but he always has a good ability to scramble back up to his feet or to top position. So he's just not somebody that you can count out. And I think that just given his competition, his resume, you got to let him go out on his shield. But anyways, Brandon Moreno, I'm going to go with him in this fight just because I think that Kavanagh might be the more powerful guy. Probably going to have the speed advantage. He is very fast. Probably going to have the power advantage. I just think in terms of overall skill set, going 5 rounds, I think that Brandon Moreno just has the edge there in terms of resume, experience, multifaceted skill set, the ability to grapple. He's a black belt. He's got good boxing as well. He's not going to be a fish out of water in this fight on the feet. He's got really good boxing. He's got a good jab. He's got decent reach. I think he's going to have a reach advantage in this one. He's 5'7", 70-inch reach to Kavanagh, who is 5'4", 67-inch reach. So 67-inch reach. So he'll be 3 inches taller, have a 3-inch reach advantage. And I like his left hook. He's got really good countering ability, really good ability to defend takedowns as well. If Kavanagh wants to mix it up, which I doubt that he will, just because I don't think he's going to have the gas tank to really wrestle offensively and throw hands on the feet. But I like Brandon Moreno. I like his left hook. I like his head movement. I think that he goes, all levels with his strikes. He'll fire shots to the body, to the head, chop up the lead leg with leg kicks. Has really good cardio, a good chin, and I think that if things get a little rough on the feet, I think that he'll be able to push a high pace and offensively wrestle, and either get his takedowns to get it to the ground and capitalize there, or just use his motor and his grappling ability and his forward pressure to kind of wear down Lonier Kavanagh to where he can start to take over as the fight progresses. Lonier Kavanagh had a very good performance against Charles Johnson in the first round. He caught him with like a left hook that was really bothering Charles Johnson, was chopping him up with leg kicks to kind of maintain his range. Has really good body kicks that he was snapping in there too, and he's just extremely fast. He has really good footwork. He's hard to find, he's hard to hit. But you do see him kind of start to slow down. These guys that are very explosive, they've got these explosive movements, they're high volume, they're moving a lot. I don't think that style really bodes well as the fight progresses. And even in the fight with Charles Johnson, you could see that Charles started to shoot takedowns. Lonier did a really good job of pulling guillotines to kind of defend. There was one time it was a straight guillotine he used to defend to get back up to his feet. The second time he had an arm end guillotine that he was able to use to get back up to his feet. And so that could be a tool that he uses against somebody like Brandon Moreno just to threaten and defend. But I don't think that's going to last long term. He is a jiu-jitsu purple belt, but Brandon Moreno, high-level black belt, has really good submission game wherever the fight goes. And I just think that if Brandon Moreno continues that style, he pushes that high pace, I think that he'll start to kind of wilt Lonier Kavanagh, especially taking this on short notice. But Lonier Kavanagh, you could tell with Charles Johnson, who's kind of similar to Brandon Moreno in that he's high volume, he moves a lot, he's not really going to get tired. You saw in that second round, but after Lonier Kavanagh, after he started to grapple a little bit, you could see him start to kind of slow down. And towards the end of the round, Charles Johnson's really putting it on him, getting in his face. And you can see Lonier Kavanagh as he starts to get pressured. He can't keep that volume out there. He can't keep, his best defense is his offense, and that he's very good at kind of keeping guys off him with his kicks. But as he gets tired, his hands would start to drop. He wouldn't be able to keep the offense out there as much. His movement isn't as good. And we saw in that fight where he just threw like I think it was a big left hand, and just exited out of the pocket kind of lazily, hands down, and Charles Johnson caught him. So I don't know if Brandon Moreno is necessarily going to crack him the way that Charles Johnson did. I could see it happening just because Brandon Moreno can knock guys down. He does have the ability with the hands as well. But I think that just his pace, the pressure, he's not going to be able to, I don't think he's going to get taken out of there very easily. I think that he's going to be constantly in Lonier Kavanagh's face and just start to kind of take over as the fight progresses, because Lonier Kavanagh's never been 5 rounds. So I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno. I think that Lonier Kavanagh, if he gets tired, he can try to offensively wrestle the way that he did against Felipe Dos Santos, but I don't see him having a lot of success holding Brandon Moreno on the ground. I think that more that they roll around and scramble and wrestle, I think that Brandon Moreno's only going to benefit from that, whereas Lonier Kavanagh's going to get tired. So Brandon Moreno hasn't there's nothing that Lonier, he's very devastating striker, high-level kickboxer. I don't think he's going to have the level of power that Moreno's never seen before. He's fought really high-level guys, Steve Urseg, Brandon Royval, Davison Figueiredo, Kai Kara France. These guys can crack. They've hit him before. He hasn't been put out. So I just don't see a circumstance where Lonier Kavanagh gets him out of there by KO unless he blitzes him early, lands him with some crazy kicks or something like that. But I think that Moreno's going to kind of play it safe the first round, make him kind of work on the feet, threaten with the grappling, and just kind of tire him out and drown him as the fight progresses. And he's got 5 rounds to do it. So I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno. I think that he eventually will get this fight to the ground and get the submission in round 3 or 4. Thanks.